So what was it that you decided to pursue a career in car sales?
Okay, well, my very first career wasn't in cars at all. It was actually used to be a jockey. And I didn't like school, so I thought, well, to get out of school I could turn around and be a jockey at the age of 15, leave early, which I did. I was a jockey for 8 years, rode professionally, and had a very bad car accident back in the 80s, and I've got 2 plates in one arm and had massive injuries. So I thought, well, if I wasn't going to ride horses, what would I do next? So I chose to get into the car side. The main reason I got into the car side is I could see an easy way of making money quickly, and that's exactly the focus I took. So I started selling cars for a company called Champion Motors in Otahu. I was with them for about 4 years, and then I left there to go to a franchise company, which was bigger and it was more stable. So in moving to a franchise dealership, there was more selection, you had more credibility as a salesperson. So moving to Curve Motors, which is now Andrew Sims Mitsubishi, I chose to go from there to a company called Takapuna Nissan, which is on the North Shore, as General Sales Manager. I worked for them for approximately 3 years. Once again, it's actually a good way it's a good income. But the downside to the good income, obviously, is the hours that you work, because you put in a lot of hours. If you break it down into an hourly rate, selling cars is absolutely horrific. But having said that, if you're willing to put the time in and the effort in, well, you certainly gain the rewards. So becoming General Sales Manager at Takapuna Nissan, then moving on to North Harbour Hyundai, who were based right next door, selling Hyundai product, of course. And I was there once again for approximately 3 years. I was approached by a recruitment agency to go and sell cars, be a sales manager for a company called Rover City in Parnell. Rover City sold new Land Rover and Rover. And once again, it was something I hadn't done as far as totally new vehicles were concerned. I was there for about 6 months, and they went into receivership. They weren't very stable when I arrived. Had I known what I knew prior to moving, I certainly wouldn't have moved to Rover City. So I went from there to Albany Toyota as used vehicle sales manager. I was with Albany Toyota for 3 years before thinking, well, I really want to do my own thing. The reason for doing that was to free up more time and have more of a lifestyle. So I opened a company called Little Motors, and how Little Motors started is we operated from a small warehouse to start with. It could only house about 8 cars. I used to frequent car fairs in order to sell the product, and it was quite good. There was a little bit of stuff then on Trade Me. It was the very early days, and then we realised we needed exposure. So we got a yard which was on the corner of Tristram Ave and Waira Road, which is now Corporate Cars, and we're in there for approximately 12 months. The rent on that yard was absolutely horrific. It was, well, to give an example, it was $78,000 a year. So you'd have to make $78,000 before you made a cent. So this sort of opened my eyes to premises that were high profile. We realised that obviously we needed to downscale in profile, but upscale in the amount of units we could hold. At the yard at Tristram Ave, we could hold approximately 18 cars inside and out. So I moved to a yard in Glenfield, Waira Road, just up the road. It was only about 200 metres up the road, just before Southern Cross Hospital, and that yard could hold 28 vehicles. So we moved there. We were there for about 2 years, and North Shore Toyota were looking for a sales manager. I had a job, I didn't need a job, but North Shore Toyota came along. They'd heard that I'd been in the industry for some time and was very experienced. They needed someone to sort their used car department out as far as stock was concerned, and a few other things. So I went to North Shore Toyota with the idea of being there for 2 years. That wasn't the case. I was there for 8 years, and in that time I'd had 2 young children. working 6 days a week, and your day off really wasn't a day off because your phone would ring flat out. On my day off, I'd get probably like 50 odd calls a day, which really wasn't a day off. So you were distracted from the everyday of spending time with your family and friends, and it became a bit of a problem. So the whole idea was to be there for 2 years. Ended up being there for 8 years, and woke up one morning and thought, what am I doing? I've got 2 young children. I'm not seeing them grow up. And we decided to start Little Motors up again. That was 3 years ago. And starting Little Motors again, we decided to keep Little Motors quite small and quite tight with low overheads. So we started off from home, and we've moved to a warehouse in Browns Bay, where the rent isn't high, and we can certainly save every cent possible. So Little Motors has started strong once again. We do most of our marketing on Trade Me. The thing about any sort of marketing, if you don't market, you'll find that basically you can't sell a secret. So you need to market your cars in a way where you've got two things. Two things will sell anything: price and presentation. If you have both those things right, you'll sell anything, whether it be a car, a bike, a house, whatever it may be. So in doing that, I do all of my mechanical work, paint work, trim work. It's all done by local businesses within Browns Bay. These businesses also sponsor events in Browns Bay, like Santa's Parade, and a few other things, life saving, so forth. So really, I think it is the idea of having a business and to grow a business is to keep it small, keep it tight, don't get too big too quick. That's my advice.
Could you just go into a bit more detail about how Little Motors has helped the community?
Okay, when we started Little Motors, we were in Moringa Bay, and we used to sponsor Moringa Bay Tennis Club, and they were just moving to swipe cards at the time to allow members access to the tennis courts 24/7. So we got alongside of the tennis club and worked out we would sponsor the tennis club. We'd get our name printed on the back of that swipe card, which obviously every time they picked up a swipe card, they looked at a card and saw Little Motors. That certainly helped us, but it also helped the community, as in Moringa Bay Tennis Club. We've sponsored other things in the past, children's events, school activities, and so on. So we try and do as much as we can, but keeping it realistic.
So, and where would you want it to go in the future? What's the future of Little Motors?
I'd like to see my son eventually take over Little Motors, but he's got his heart focused on being a pilot, so I think that's really not an option at this stage. I don't want to grow it any bigger, because if I grow the business bigger, you need staff, and staff, you need to keep an eye on staff and help them and help them learn the art of the business and grow the industry or the company. I could sell it on someone if I had a staff member, but like I say, keep it small, keep it tight, keep the dollars, look after the cents. The dollars look after themselves.
Sweet, cool. That's it. You covered all my questions.
Gee, didn't ask.